All right, welcome to the God, Money, and Purpose podcast. My name is Raul Velasquez, and I'm here with my beautiful queen.
Hello, everyone. Vivian Velasquez. Happy to be here with you all.
So this show is live, so you're watching us through Facebook. Just comment below. Let us know where you're watching us from, and I'm going to share this with my community here to get more people invited. So what's the topic for today? What are we going to talk about today, babe?
Well, we didn't really have a topic because we have so much in our mind, and we just didn't want to even dwell with the
Well, we have some framework that we're going to share with you. We
Yes.
have one question that came through at the leadership.
Yes.
But tell us what you're excited about, babe.
Everything. I'm always excited about something, the little things and the big things. But, you just finished a beautiful event, which I'm sure you're going to talk about and share with everyone that is watching. And I was excited just to be part of it. I am always humbled to be there, to be able to share, not really the stage, because I'm more like I like to be in the back, no lights on me. I just love to be there and share the space with you and be able to be with the men. So I was really excited to be part of that, to be able to get back into the groove of things, to be able to share some of my amazing news with the men that came back. My health is improving. And I think we talked a little bit about it before. There's always something that we could be grateful for. And we should be focusing on the little wins and the big ones too. So there's a lot of beautiful, exciting new things that are happening, not only in my life, but in yours too.
Yeah, I'm happy that we actually got to do another live show. I mean, we haven't done a live show in a while. We've been doing some pre-recording shows. So right before we're coming in here, everyone was stressing out because I'm driving. It's like, we're going to be late. I said, what are you talking about? We're right on time.
We're only 3 minutes late.
I said, we're only 3 minutes late. For me, that's a win. That's a win. That's early for me.
And that's a difference. That's one of the many differences between Raul and I. It's like, for me, time flows and I get it and I try and I do my thing. Like, time flows with me, through me. But when I'm with you, it's like, time, God, just
but
here's
the
time.
thing. We've learned how not to get triggered, because I remember maybe 2-3 years ago, this would have gotten into a fight. Yes. This would have blown over. We probably would have not done this podcast. We probably would have been fighting because you were like, you're late, Raul. I'm like, don't push me, don't trigger me. And now we just, that's who we are. I'm not trying to change you. You're not trying to change me. And at the end, we get shit done. That's what matters.
We do. And I definitely have to say, I'm really amazed at myself because I don't let it get to me. Because before in the past, I was like, well, then how do I look? And I think it has a lot to do with, what would people say about me if I am late? If I don't show up, if I'm not, if I'm not being who Vivian should be, right? So it's like all these rules. And then when we let go of that stuff and it's like, okay, well, what are we here to do? What is the real intention of this podcast? What is the real intention of us rushing here and giving ourselves this time to be here? It's like, so we could let people know that the marriages are not perfect, that we are progress, that there is fun in between, that there is this, oceans of emotions that go in and out from our hearts. But it's like, but at least you got to try.
And at the end of the day, give yourself the permission to piss each other off and come back stronger. So let's give some shout out here. So Christian Abad, thank you, brother, for watching this. Diamond Guzman, Javier Garcia, Greg, and all you guys who are watching this, just comment below. Let us know where are you connecting from.
Awesome.
And if you have questions, just make sure you put your questions at the bottom here. We'll answer it towards the end of the show. Yes. So yes, we did have last week we had an amazing event, the first Next Level Virtual Summit.
Yay!
And it was the first time that we did it. My team, shout out to
amazing.
To my team, Jay, Daniel, Elvis, Roberto, even Robert, putting the emails,
Christian,
Sean, Reg, every single one of the teams that just came together was a beautiful. So here's what I gotta share. I'll share it with the audience. Like when we did this, we didn't know how it was gonna work out. I mean, we have an idea of what it was gonna look like. Yes. I invited my inner circle members to join me just in case, I need some help.
Just in case put a show with them.
Just in case there is no virtual event and the technology doesn't work out, I'm still gonna have an event with my guys at the event.
Yeah, because that's the truth. Like, we're at the mercy of technology. Like, if something doesn't go right or the way that it was planned, then I'm always afraid of that. Even like when I do my Facebook Lives on Friday that I do my Queen's Corner, like I'm always like, I rely on my phone, which I love because it's pretty simple. But here you are like orchestrating this massive attendance
of
over people.
300 people who sign up to be there.
Oh my gosh, I was praying for you.
And 100 people that sign up. Logged in, and we didn't know that our Zoom meeting was capped at 100. And then we had to upgrade towards the midst because we got a bunch of messages saying, hey, I can't get in. I'm trying to get in.
Yeah.
But the first hour was a shit show. The first hour, everything you could think of went wrong. We couldn't get the audio. We couldn't get the screens to work. And the beautiful thing is that we opened the event for the first hour for my clients. So because I knew that they were going to be more forgiven. I knew they knew that this is the first time we were doing it.
You opened up the virtual part.
The virtual part, yeah. The first hour of the virtual event was for my clients, like a VIP section.
Okay.
And then afterwards, we're going to let the rest of the guys who sign up in.
Awesome.
And but the first hour was a shit show. But the beautiful thing is I didn't break a sweat. Like I was proud of myself that I didn't break at the moment of pressure. I was on the stage and my clients, were interacting and we were still, the show must go on.
Yeah.
But something happened towards like that, the next hour when, things were supposed to go the way they were supposed to go. And it was just flawless. It was like flawless execution.
Yes.
It was everything started to work.
And I love that about you and that's something that I so admire. And I think that's probably just like being an entrepreneur. And like this beautiful saying that you have is adapt, adjust, and execute.
We even have T-shirts with that.
You have all of that.
So if you want a T-shirt, comment. The best question in this podcast gets adapt, adjust, and execute T-shirt.
And that's easy to say it. It's easy to put it on your chest. It's easy to like even have this mantra. But when you are tested, when this stuff happens, like I'm telling you, I just picture myself there. I would have probably just dropped and pretend I'm dead because I just can't take that pressure. But like, I just so admire that about you and even the team. Like you guys come together and you make things work, and that's so admirable. And then when you let go, and I think that's a beautiful thing. When like you let go of control, when you let go of like how you want things to happen, then God is like, okay, Raul, let me just step in here and let me open it up to the masses. And because it was like screens of people just there listening to you. And it's, that's not us. That is just God orchestrating his love and his mercy over you because there's so many of us praying over you.
I think that's the moment that, I felt that, okay, if the worst case scenario, I will unplug the Zoom meeting and I'll have a whole event with my guys that were there. We had about 20 guys there because the hotel limit us to 25 people. Yeah. So we can't have more than 25 people in the room. And at that moment, I said, you know what? If this technology doesn't work, I'm going to unplug it. I'm going to have the event, but the show must go on. Yes. And at the end of the day, that's what we're made of. That's who we are as leaders, as entrepreneurs. We have to continue to push through.
That's just so stressful.
But I feel you pay because you were doubting even to come to the event because you didn't know how it was gonna go. Like the last time we had an event, you and I got sick, so we had some fear around there. So talk to the audience about some of the fear that you were going through, how you walked through that fear.
Yeah, there was a lot of fear, a lot of hesitation because, like you said, back in March, we were at the same stage, just serving and loving everyone there. And then all of a sudden, like this little fear that comes in and kicks in. And it's not just in me. I know it's in all of us. And that's the fear that stops us in our tracks. And then we're like I was thinking, like, should I go? Do I want to be around these men again? Do I want to show up like half-assed? What is it that I want? So it's like I really had to ask myself again, what's the intention? Like, why am I going?
Why?
And the why is such a big thing. And it's like, listen, even if I get there and I get to tell these men how much I appreciate them, their prayers, their support when I was going through, like, I just want them to hear from my lips. Because I actually did a video. I filmed a video with Elvis, and he had already, like I was already thinking, like, look at that. I already set myself up for me not to go. You
set yourself up for failure before you even
I did.
Give yourself a chance.
And then when we had a conversation, probably the day before, because we went on a date night, you said something, and I don't know what it was, but it was like, it allowed me to see that that's not serving at my highest, my best, authentic self. And something that I teach my girls, and I always tell them, like, the reason why I teach you is just to come back and to teach myself, because I tell them, I'm like, we have this stage of, like, you could be in a princess stage or you could be in the queen mentality. And then all of a sudden, like, when I heard me saying that, when I knew that I already did the video, and I was like, wow, Vivian, like, you're stuck on this princess mentality. You're just selling yourself short of what you could do. because it's not what we are doing, but what God could do through us. And that's the times that we have to get a hold of our fear and get a hold of our emotions, get a hold of what's really going on inside of us, and then ask ourselves, like, okay, what is the big why and what is the intention? Thank God I was able to push through, and thank God I was able to get there, and just, to hug each and every one of them and to thank them and to hopefully said something inspiring for and one I
always tell you that the biggest feedback that I get from men who listen to you is just your words that just flow. And that's what I told you, Dana, is like just one word. If you say one word that makes somebody think different or act different, that's all that matters.
Yeah. And then at the end of the day, like, I know that you're teaching these men, about business and about life and the meditation and the community. And I get that. And I love that, because that's what men need. And that's what we need too as women. But the reason why we do this type of podcast, in addition to everything else that you're doing, is because we want listeners out there. I wanted these men to realize that, everything that you're doing out there, nothing really matters unless you have your relationship together, the relationship with yourself, and then your relationship with your spouse. Because a lot of these men, they're out there working and, making things happen, and they're making great things happen. But then you want to come back home and you want to have this significant other, the love of your life, your queen. You want her to be happy. You want to have this communion. You want to have this love, right? So it's like, that's something that we've worked on so hard, and we have that right now. So I wanted them to see that. I wanted them to know, like, this amazing guy has an even more amazing, extravagant woman, waiting for him, because we work so hard at it.
And this is so true when you say that one of the big things that we worked on at the mastermind was, leverage. What's the leverage? How can we go to the next level? In order for you to go to the next level, you have to have leverage. So the biggest leverage is finding your why. What's the reason that you show up? What's the reason that you want to lead? Why do you want to go to the next level? And most of these guys, I'd probably say all of these guys, what they said that the leverage is their family. The leverage is their kids. The leverage is like who will suffer. And I had them write it down. Who will pay the price if you're not willing to pay the price to lead?
Right.
Who will suffer if you don't level up? Who will pay the price if you don't show up? So that's leverage. Yeah. So they're not saying, well, I want to make more money because, I want to buy more cars. I want to buy bigger houses. At a certain, place, that doesn't matter anymore.
I know, because it's superficial. At the beginning, we all do.
Most of these guys are past that. Most of my clients are very past the superficial shit that's out there. They are talking about legacy. They're talking about impact. But if we don't have the why and we don't have the leverage, and the big why and big leverage is relationships.
Yes.
If you don't have your shit together with your wife, with your partner, no matter how focused you are on your business, is a drain that's dragging you towards, holding you back from going to the next step in your business or every area of your life.
Right. And that's what, I wanted these men to figure that part out. It's like, let's plant the little seed and let them know that they're working so hard at everything else. Relationships have to be worked on. Relationships, like we said, they're simple, but it's not easy. So the same way that you're working in your business and your body, like, you got to take the time to invest into your relationship.
One of the things that you said, because we had these guys for 6 hours. It was amazing. 6 hours. I was blown away. We had 90% retention in the event.
What's that?
You guys have questions.
Okay,
90%. Yeah, thank you. We got the producer telling us. It was a voice coming from the top. You have questions. Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, let me just finish it. Yeah.
90% of the people who attended, the men who attended this event, stayed until the end. 6 hours of conversation, 6 hours of breakthrough, 6 hours of connection.
Because when you're in it, it goes like this.
And I was blown away when I saw the video.
Yes.
Your time on stage, when you talk about here's what you need to do in your relationship, here's what's gonna happen in your relationship. Every single guy was glued into the screen.
We just said 3 things. We were trying to, like, the theme was like
3,
right?
The theme was keeping it simple.
The
theme was making sure that we don't complicate things, especially now that we are in a place of chaos. The theme of the event was how to build certainty in the middle of chaos.
Right.
And one of the ways to build certainty in the middle of chaos is to keep things simple so you could continue to create momentum.
Yes, I love that.
So some questions. What's the question? My question is how do I handle that better myself? Or what can I do to have better approach? Okay, so Enrique Valcazar is asking, my wife and my biggest
head bumping happens when I put discipline on the kids and she thinks I'm too hard on them. And instead of backing me up, she starts fighting with me in front of the kids and undermines my progressive position.
Well, man, that's a big thing, because as men, if we don't learn how to be in the same page as our women, and we discipline our kids, and then all of a sudden the wife comes in and says something else, it takes away your power, it takes away your position in the tribe.
That's exactly what he said.
And I remember growing up with my mom and dad.
Oh,
like
if
my
household.
dad, it doesn't. Yeah, Enrique Balcazar. You probably he's Colombian, Ecuadorian, Latino.
Yeah,
that's
America.
That's a cultural thing. Because every single time when I talk to my dad and my dad will lay the hammer, I will always go to my mom to get it to get it easier.
Yes.
And when we had kids, you and I had this conversation, because
we still have kids.
Well, we started having kids. The kids were born.
Okay.
I said, we need to be on the same page. Like, if we're not on the same page, they're gonna see us battle.
Yes, and we still have this fights over how we discipline our kids, because we as women, we want to mother especially our sons. Like, I find this like so hard. I'm so hard with my daughter. Like, I'm very like strict with her, because I want her to amount to everything that I didn't amount to. And, I'm trying to like live myself through her, and I had to catch myself. And then with my son, I want to mother him, and I want to take care of him, and I want him, and then it's like I had to catch myself too.
Yeah.
And these are the patterns that we run, not really because of something that happened to us, but because of something that happened, in our childhood, or because of our parents. That's something that you have to have a conversation with yourself. But the conversation that you and I had, which was so helpful, it is not when we're mad at each other. It is not when we're putting down the foot and having the discipline. It is when we take this time and actually say, like, you came to me, you're like, Vivian, I whether you and I are having this discipline for our kids, you need to respect me in that sense, and I need to respect you.
Yeah.
So it's not like just because you're the father, you have the discipline, or because I'm the mother, but it's like we have to come together. We have to see each other's points. They may be valid, they may be not, but we have to learn to discipline our kids in this almost like, what is the intention behind the discipline? And for me, also was big when we had a conversation. It's like, for me to know that my son needs to grow up and be a man after God's heart. But they need to have discipline. They need to have respect. They need to have habits. They need to have, like the big thing with Alejandro is like, he needs to exercise. It's like, that's a big thing. And it's like, oh no, don't make him exercise because he's had a long day, or he doesn't need to exercise. He'll do it tomorrow. But then I had to catch myself, and it's like, okay, if I'm going to let him slide this time, what else is going to slide?
So it all comes down to this. Like, if you are arguing about how to discipline the kids in front of the kids, both of you already lost.
Yes.
Like, that's a lost battle. The kids are winning the battle because they know how to push the buttons. So one of the agreements that you and I made is that
we don't fight.
That you and I are the team.
Yes.
Okay. And I position you in our family as like, listen, if there's a fire in the house, and the first one I'm saving is your mother. If I have time, I come back for you. And my kids look at me like, what, Dad? That's so mean. I said, yeah, well, your mother's number one to me. And then they know that the same thing with us. Even though realistically, if something happens, I'll probably
take all of us.
Try to save every single one of them first.
I know. But I think, you're right.
But at the end, they have to see that that is you and I.
Yes.
And every single time something happens, if they ask me, I say, what did Mom say? Well, I'm not gonna go against what Mom said, and you're not gonna guess what I said. Now, it doesn't mean that we both agree with it.
Most of the time we don't.
And then it's our conversation afterwards for us to talk it through with each other. So we could actually make better decisions. Because especially my son, I tell him, listen, you're my first son. I'm going to make mistakes. I'll probably get it better with your sister. But I'm learning as I go along too. I'm not perfect. And
that's the thing. Like, we don't have a guide to be parents. So I really, like, it would be easy, right? Like, if we could pick up a book. And there are so many great books, which we learned from. But I think it's just taking the time to actually, like, okay, we're a team. I think that's the time that we forget. It's like, let's make the time a conscious decision. What is the intention of us parenting? How do we want to parent? how do we want the discipline to look like? And let's just make this work for all of us.
Yeah.
Right. And it may not work the way that you think it's going to work, but at least it's like you guys are on the same page, because most of the time we are.
And listen, and especially if as a Latin man, and I go into this thing, is that we constantly try. I gotta catch myself. We do the same thing that our parents did to us, right? Which is constantly, trying to be over disciplined and try to like that doesn't work anymore here. Like nowadays, we have to be more empathetic with our kids, but at the same time try to get into their world. You know, like perfect example, you probably look at some, previous podcasts that I've done, is when I wanted to throw my son's PlayStation out the window. Like I already had the hammer. I don't want to put the hammer through it and put it out there. But I called myself. I said, what am I showing him? How am I reacting? And is my kid going to be afraid of me? Is this an opportunity for me to connect with him? So I think we need to have more connection. Connection with our kids, connection with our wives, connection with ourselves, and not try to say, well, this is what my dad did, or this is what my mother did. I usually throw that in there so they could remember where we came from, but usually it doesn't work anymore, because my daughter goes, Dad, I know you were an immigrant. I know you got bullied. I know that your mom, beat you when you were bad. I said, but we're different. And she always poses like, aren't you talking about expansion? Don't you talk about you're grown to be a king? What would a king do? And then in my mind, it's okay, I get it. I have to have a different approach, but at the same time, don't be too soft on them that they walk all over you, and not being in the same connection with your wife or your partner that's failing. That's the loss of a war.
There's a great book out there, and I don't remember exactly who the author is, but it's called Conscious Parenting.
Yeah, great book.
It's a really beautiful book, and I think it's just us as parents learning how to communicate. And I think one of the best things that we've done with our kids, even when we want to punish them, like we have a conversation with them and we tell them like, these are the consequences of something that you did, whether it was like a bad grade or not showing up with your sister or whatever it was. Like, these are the consequences. And when we have these conversations, like we treat them as, as people, like there are our kids, but they're also humans. Like, let's have a conversation. Let's understand what we're going through.
And at the end, our kids picked us so we could grow. I have this belief that their soul picked us so we could grow. And you have to let go of the entitlement that because you're the parent, they owe you the love or they owe you respect.
Yes.
You have to, it's both ways.
Because
you
I'm
earn
the
their respect, you earn their love, and you continue to build a relationship. But that's a great question. Great question.
So I want to also answer another question that they have here, but there was something in here that I wanted to read.
Well, shout out to Greg Johnson. Yes, it's the conference. I haven't had any alcohol. I started meditating, reading the Bible again, helping my wife and son. We started to dedicate more time with my business, and also journaling each day, 1% each day. My goal is to be able to go to the next level community by the end of this month. Great, Greg. Appreciate that, man. That just means the world to me that you take an action on that. And one of the things that we talked about at the event is just stop beating yourselves up. Give yourself the permission to fail. Give yourself permission to get down, but get back up. The game is the 1% game. Yes. Can you win your day by 1%? And can you become better today, 1% better than who you were yesterday?
I say the one thing. Like for me and my queens, I tell them like, what is the one thing? And I really focus on what is the one thing that's going to bring you joy? What is the one thing that brings you happiness? Because I think a lot of the time, like we forget, like, probably Greg forgot. All it is like for us remembering, it's like, who did God, the universe, whatever you believe in, like, what does he want from you? Why are you here for, right? That's like a big question. And we start to like really take the time and answer those questions, like everything starts to change, because it's like all of a sudden we had this blinders on, and when you open your eyes, it's like, can we answer these questions? One of the things that I know that came up in the event, and I think Christian is good to remind us about it, is to talk a little bit about the difference between the princess and the queen mentality. And I know I didn't have any time to talk about any of this because it goes so deep, right?
Yeah, we have a couple of single guys in the mastermind, and they were like, they're dating princesses or queens, so they were like, how do I tell the difference between a princess and a queen? And it's a great topic, because the same thing. How do you tell the difference between a warrior and a king, right? And the warrior for me is the one who's always thinking about himself. The warrior for me is the one who's constantly trying to succeed and prove something. The king is somebody who he doesn't have to prove anything. He knows who he is, and all he needs to do is just build his kingdom. And the kingdom that I'm talking about is from within. the certainty from within. What's your insight on the princess and the queen?
I could like just have a whole podcast on this. I mean, a whole episode, I should say. But here's the thing: like, we have very few, how do you say it? Like, examples of what a princess and when the queen could be, right? Like, this mentalities of it. And when I was thinking about that, I'm like, well, who could it be? And then for me, I didn't want to put any one person, right? Because I didn't want to set that example for some reason, right? And then when I picked up the Bible, and they had in there the Proverbs 31 women. And for me, when I read that at the beginning, it was like, oh, hell no. Like, I could never amount to that. Like, holy cow, she does so much. Like, I can never amount to it. And then a couple of years later, I read it again. And then I realized, like, all of that, the Proverbs 31, when they talk about the woman, that woman never had a name. So, like, when I prayed about it, it was like, well, that woman is not named because all of us as women could be that. And if you're listening to this and you haven't had the chance to read it, like, go and read it. Sit down and take the time to read it. And it's just so beautiful the way that the Bible orchestrates what a woman could be with God's help. And, you know, this woman, it's like, you know, she wakes up early and she puts God's word first, and she takes care of her husband, and she like, it's just so many beautiful things. And it's like, oh, okay, well, that's the idea to me of like a queen, right? Like this queen mentality, because she has it, not all of it together, but she has the time to make those things happen. And for me, that was such a beautiful example. And it's something like to look forward to, something that I'm working towards. That was my example. And then, you know, like the princess, I think of myself back in the days, like when I was a princess, it's like, we, like you said, like, we're thinking of ourselves for one, and two, we're just, think of it like you're throwing a tantrum for everything. You just fall so short of like the big picture, right? It's like we could be so much, but yet we get so hung up on the little things. We're often thinking of ourselves. That's it. It's like me. What about me? And when a queen mentality has to step in, it's like, what is good for me that I could serve everyone around me? And how do I serve them? How do I love them? How do I want to love them? And it's more like understanding a queen. When you see a queen, you kind of think of a person like that already knows herself and honors herself, loves herself. And it's so full and so abundant that she could love everyone else that comes in contact with her. It's a way different energy.
If you start looking back at movies, right, how they portray the queen and the princess, even just looking at those archetypes, right?
Yeah.
The princess is always looking to she thinks that the world owes her something.
Yeah.
The princess always is like somebody's after her, or somebody's bad, or the bad stepmother, or the bad queen, or they don't let him be with the prince. You know, in those movies, like the princess is always in trouble. You know, because the mind is always trying to create that the world owes the queen something. It's very similar to the warrior. The world owes the warrior something. It's like, this is me. I'm I need to go into the battlefield because of me, because I need to succeed.
You need to prove yourself.
It's all about proving to the world who you are.
Yes.
And if you look at the archetypes as the queen, I mean, look, Queen Elizabeth, you know, like she doesn't need a man.
Yeah.
She's her own like human being. Like that's what's so attractive as a queen, that a queen doesn't need a man, because she will walk into a room full of confidence, full of light, full of energy, because she knows who she is. She doesn't need to tell other people to tell her how great she is, because she knows who she is from the inside.
Yeah, she doesn't need a man, but she honors her man.
But then if she's married to a warrior, and eventually the queen, I believe a queen with a warrior,
lift him up.
He has no other choice but to become a king.
Yeah.
But most men are waiting for the princess to become queens. Now you take the other side, the king, right? Most kings, when they come in, they're dating princesses. They're attracted to princesses, because now most kings and queens, like there is a different energy. It's friction.
Yeah. Yes.
Because the woman knows who she is. She doesn't need your ass. And the man knows who he is. He doesn't need. So now they wanting and a desire to be together, not the neediness to be together. Yes. A warrior and a princess, they need each other in order for them to be a complete human being. That's what's like half, what do they call it? A better half, right?
Yeah.
But a king and a queen, like
they
complete and they know who they are, and they'll have their friction, but at the end of the day, they continue to build. The vision is bigger.
Right.
Is an empire vision, not just what can we do together for us vision.
Yeah. And I think that's why for me was such a beautiful example to have something from the Bible and something like it didn't have a name. So like my name could be inserted into that. So it's not something of what the world is dictating, because it's, you could fall short of what the queen mentality needs to look like for you. And just like if you're listening to this, a queen mentality is like for everybody is different because we're all so individually unique. But at the same time, it's like we don't take the time to explore and to remember. And that's what I tell my girls. I was like, just remember. Like, I don't need to tell you. You don't need, the world doesn't need to tell you. Social media doesn't need to tell you. This magazine doesn't need to tell you. You need to take the time to sit down with yourself, by yourself, and actually remember like the greatness that God made in you. And when you start to remember, because that's what happened to me. Like when I started to remember, like after my 40th birthday, like the meditations and the stuff, like I sat down with God and he was just like downloading all these things. And it's like, Vivian, I made you for a reason. Like, can you just remember? Can you just let me show you? And that was like, oh, okay, God, like I get it. You've been trying to tell me something for so long and now I get it. So it's like, okay, I can't live in this princess mentality, wanting, wishing and hoping for things. But now I know who made me. I know why I'm here. And it may not look for everybody the same way. So it's like, okay, who are you as a queen? Who are you as a child of God?
And the main ingredient, like now I'm hearing you talk, the main ingredient between the princess and the queen is the gratitude they have for what they have right now. Like being humble and certain at the same time.
Yes.
Like so grateful, okay, here, so grateful, so gracious about where they are. And they're not asking for anything because they already have everything.
Right.
But they want everything. You see, that's the difference. They're not asking for anything because they already have everything, but they also want everything because they know that that's their birthright.
Because it's not like I deserve it, but it's like you're granting me this because I'm remembering this, and it's like, oh, okay, it doesn't really belong to me, especially because of who we believe in. It's like our creator. It's like none of this belongs to me. It belongs back to the world. And it's like, oh, okay, now I'm going to show up fully and really give that back. And then my king is going to come along, and my kids and my community, my kingdom. So it's like, how do you build that up, right? And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to be a queen. And a lot of the girls, like, sometimes it's like,
it's easier to be a princess.
I don't want to be a queen.
It's easier to be a princess. It's easier to be a warrior.
Yeah, like let me just be here and, show up just a little bit, and let me just, look beautiful and act beautiful. But then do I feel beautiful on the inside, right?
So great. So listen, we have a lot of things that we could be grateful for. We could be talking about this for hours. So the three things that we're going to wrap up this podcast with is, number one is, gratitude. You got to be grateful for the things you have. Actually, there's a rule of threes that I taught at this mastermind. It's 3 wins, 3 things that you can be grateful for. What are the 3 things that you're winning in life? The second one is 3 outcomes. What are the 3 outcomes that you want to achieve? What are the 3 things that you want to accomplish in the next 30 days, in the next 100 days? And what are the 3 musts? Who must you become? What must you do?
Why?
And it all comes down. None of that matters unless you know the why, the what, and the who. Why do you want to do what you need to do? What is it that you get clear on what you want to do? And who do you need to become to get it done?
And I would just add to that, keep it simple. The mind always wants to make it like extravagant. It has to look good on paper. And that's what like I've learned from you a lot of the times is like, just try it out. Like, what is the simplest way? What is the most authentic way to you that feels right? But just go and do it. Don't overthink it. Just do it. Because a lot of the times we get hung up on that.
Imperfect action beats perfect planning every single day.
I love that.
Thank you. I appreciate you. We have less than 100 days to 2021. We're going to close this year strong. Thank you for watching this podcast. Thank you for interacting with us. We have a bunch of guys here. We have Diamond Guzman, Enrique Balcazar, Greg Johnson, Matthew Garner. Good to see you, brother. And listen, at the end of the day, who you become in this process is what matters. And 2021 is going to come, before we know it.
Yes.
And if you're waiting for 2020 to end, for all these things to be over, you're going to be dragging all that energy from 2020 to 2021.
Year.
So get your shit together now. Find out why do you want it? What do you want? Who need to become? Keep it simple. And let's go get it, because the best is yet to come.
Yes,
Have an amazing time. And we'll see you next week. Learn it, live it, experience it.
Love life.
If you receive any value from this conversation, comment, subscribe, and share as we continue to impact more people and take it to the next level.
And please send us your comments and questions so we could answer them in the next podcast.
See you in the next episode.